Ciliophora, often referred to as ciliates, are heterotrophic unicellular protists that can be characterized by three distinguishing factors. Ciliates typically develop cilia at some stage in their life. They exhibit nuclear dimorphism and undergo conjugation as a sexual process.
Their bodies are covered by a pellicle, which is a tough but flexible layer of outer skin. Each of the 8,000 species of Ciliophora contains cilia protruding from the pellicle. Cilia are short hair-like appendages extending from the surface of a living cell. These tiny hair-like structures are used for locomotion, attachment, feeding, and sensation. As seen here, the coordinating beating of the cilia enables for actions of swimming and crawling.
While most protists are unicellular, ciliates exhibit nuclear dimorphism, which is the characteristic of having two different kinds of nuclei within a single cell. This means they can develop from one to several micronuclei and one or more macronuclei. Macronuclei control metabolic and developmental functions, while micronuclei are necessary for reproduction.
Ciliates can reproduce sexually or asexually. Sexual reproduction occurs by conjugation. Conjugation is the exchange of nuclear material between lower organisms. For ciliated protozoans, this occurs during a temporary union between the two mating types. During conjugation, the macronucleus in each individual will disintegrate, and the two different mating types will exchange haploid micronuclei. Multiple rounds of chromosomal replication in the micronuclei will reconstitute the macronucleus.
Ciliates can also reproduce asexually through a process called transverse binary fission. Binary fission occurs when an organism undergoing mitosis duplicates all of its genetic material and splits off into two separate bodies, with each body receiving a copy of the nuclei. Typically during transverse binary fission, the anterior or front half of the ciliate will begin forming one new organism, while the posterior or back end will begin to form another. Examples of ciliates that can reproduce asexually include the slippery-shaped paramecium, trumpet-shaped stentor, and secturians, which are sessile ciliates that suck out the protoplasm of prey through tentacles.
Some ciliates are mouthless and fed by absorption, but the majority of species in this phylum contain a cytosome or cellular mouth. Food enters through this passage called the gullet and passes into vacuoles where it is digested. There are two main types of vacuoles: specialized vacuoles that ingest food and contractile vacuoles that regulate water balance. While some feed on bacteria and algae, others are carnivorous, feeding on other protozoa or even other ciliates. The very predatory ciliates were likely the major predatory group before the evolution of animals. Some ciliates are parasitic, but there's only one known species, Ballottidium coli. It is known to cause disease in humans.
Zoomastogina, often referred to as zooflagellates and mastigophora, are animal-like protists that have an elongated unicellular body containing a single large nucleus. Their bodies are surrounded by a transparent pellicle and tend to reproduce through binary fission. Those classified as zoomastogina are characterized by the presence of one or more flagella. Flagella are long hair-like structures that are made up of microtubules and are used for movement. Flagella are used in a whipping-like motion to push or pull an organism through its environment. Zooflagellates most commonly reside in ponds, lakes, and streams and absorb their food through their cellular membrane. Organisms in this phylum may be holozoic, saprotrophic, or parasitic. Holozoic individuals obtain nutrition through the indigestion of liquid. Saprotrophic organisms get their nutrition by ingesting decaying material, and parasites feed off of their hosts. There are approximately 2,500 species in this phylum, some of which are free-living. However, many exist as parasites, while others symbionts. Symbionts can live on, in, or near their hosts, and can affect their hosts in a positive, negative, or neutral manner. Among parasitic genera are Trypanosoma, Leishmania, and Giardia. Trypanosomata are powerful agents of disease. They are slender, elongated, flattened protozoa with only one posterior flagellum. These symbiotic parasites can live in the guts of termites to help digest cellulose. They can also live in the blood of other hosts, which include humans and other animals. They are carried from host to host by blood-sucking invertebrates, such as flies. One species belonging to the genus Trypanosoma is Trypanosoma brucei. Trypanosoma brucei is responsible for causing African trypanosomiasis, commonly referred to as African sleeping sickness. Trypanosomiasis is characterized by fewer and swollen lymph nodes. In later stages, parasites will invade the brain, causing uncontrolled sleepiness. This disease occurs in two forms, both of which are caused by the tsetse fly, which only lives in Africa. The Gambian strain may take several years to invade the brain, while the Rhodesian strain affects the host more quickly and is usually known to be fatal. The genera Leishmania and Giardia can also cause serious diseases in humans. Leishmania causes leishmaniasis and is carried by sandflies. Leishmaniasis is a disease that affects millions of people in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. Victims of this disease can show signs of sores and skin disfiguration, which sometimes may be fatal. Carried by beaver and muskrat, Giardiasis can also be carried by several other animals. Infected animals will contaminate the water with their feces. Drinking water that is contaminated with Giardia will not affect muskrats and beavers, but will harm humans. If contracted, victims will experience fatigue, diarrhea, cramps, and weight loss.
Phylum Euglenophyta is small with less than 1,000 species, which consists mostly of unicellular aquatic algae. The majority live in fresh water, commonly found in pools and ponds where the water has been polluted by runoff from fields that use fertilizer. Many have flagella, a whip-like structure that aids in movement. The outer part of the cell consists of a firm but flexible layer called the pellicle, or periplast, which is not considered a cell wall. Some euglenoids have chloroplasts that contain chlorophyll A and B. This means that they're capable of photosynthesis. Others are heterotrophic and can ingest or absorb food. The food is then stored as a polysaccharide. Reproduction in these organisms occurs through longitudinal cell division. The most common example of this phylum is Euglenogracilis.